You're listening to the Black Directory podcast, where we focus on bringing Black entrepreneur experiences to the forefront. Each week, we will discuss the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I'm your host, Diamond Young. Let's dive in. Today, you'll be hearing from Kendra Woolridge. She is the founder and CEO of Janet & Jo, which is a DC-based luxury nail lacquer company that was founded on a mission to educate and inspire through their nail lacquers and the stories behind their names. Janet & Jo has been featured and applauded by notable press outlets and beauty brands including Sally Hansen, Cosmopolitan, Vogue, People, Elle, and so many more. Most recently, Janet & Jo was awarded Best Nail Polish in Self Magazine's 2021 Health Beauty Awards. Let's get into it. Hey, Kendra, how's it going?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm great.
Good. It's so good to see you. It's been a few weeks now.
Yes, it's been a while. It's very good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. I'm so excited for this interview and for the listeners to learn more about Janet & Jo. And I don't even want to get too far, but this is my girl, Kendra. Kendra, please introduce yourself and let them know who you are, where you're from, where are you located now, and more about Janet & Jo.
Okay, so my name is Kendra Woolridge. I'm the founder and CEO of Janet & Jo. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm a native of Springfield, Massachusetts.
DMV.
I know. And let's see, what else can I say? I have been in the DMV since 2005. Janet & Jo, we launched in 2019, and we've just been going crazy ever since.
And tell us a little bit more about the products you sell and just kind of how you came to the point where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Oh, yeah, sure. So we specialize in non-toxic vegan nail lacquers. And how I even got into this business was just pursuing my passion. I'm somebody that loves nail polish. I'm addicted to nail polish my entire life. And I would mix and try to create colors. And so it started as a passion project that just grew and spiraled from there into my purpose.
That's amazing. Are there any other inspirations behind it? I want to learn more about this name, Janet & Jo. Who is Janet & Jo?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this started as my passion, right? And then I started to do some investigation when I went to create the company. And that was how I actually identified my purpose when I learned about the toxins in nail polishes, when I was doing my research on polish formulations. And I was so taken aback by all those toxins that I decided that one, I wanted to take a clean approach, but then two, I wanted to educate anybody I came into contact with about the toxins.
Yes, educate us, because I'm like, I don't know about these toxins and I feel like I should know.
I didn't either. And I was just like, what? How can you be somebody that loves polish and don't know nothing about it? And
I don't know. Like, I'm ready to learn. Let me get my
really
notebook.
got me going. And at the time when I was, starting the company, I hadn't even thought of the name yet. I said, it's going to come to me. I'm just pursuing my passion. And then I just, I'm very family oriented. I have a very tight knit family. And when I started learning about the toxins, the reason behind me not wanting to have that included in my product is because my mother is at the time she was a 3-time breast cancer survivor. And I lost my grandma Jo to breast cancer. And so I wanted to honor my family without neglecting either side. Yeah. And so I named it after my 2 grandmothers, Janet and Jo Stella. So that's where Janet & Jo comes from. It's my 2 grandmothers. So
I love that. I know they're so proud.
Question.
Yeah, no. That's what I wanted to know. Is like, just what was the inspiration behind the name? And so you answered that perfectly. So yeah, it's amazing that we can find ways to incorporate family or our loved ones and just the creativity overall. Yeah. And I know they're super like, okay, all right, Janet & Jo, I'm feeling that. Awesome. So I'm sure people want to know, because I wanted to know this, like, what goes into creating a nail polish? Like, what is that end-to-end process? It sounds so complex, or more so unknown, I guess, or maybe a bit of both. But What goes into that, and how did you get started?
So it's really interesting. My background is in international finance. I have a degree in finance and a master's in public policy, and I actually worked in international development for 7 years prior to starting the company.
This is a totally different path.
Totally different. So when I say it's a passion project, it's a passion project. It was totally different. And I say all that and bring it up because when I started to say, hey, I'm going to actually, put some action behind this goal of having a nail polish company, I was starting at ground zero with no experience. And so the process starts with research. Whatever you do, you need to research the market, research your product or service that you want to put out there, see if there's a demand for it, and really identify what you need to get going. Excuse me. So for me, I needed to figure out, well, how do you make polish? What do I need? What are the ingredients? And that was how I identified the toxins in that journey. Once I identified the ingredients, it was, well, do I have to make it or can I find a chemist to do it for me and a manufacturer? So when you start researching manufacturers, you go through the trial and error of one, making sure that you like the formulation. If you have any specifications like I did on being a clean product, it was asking them, well, can you make polish? Can you make it without this? Can you make it with this and without that? So just really understanding what you're getting into is very key before you get started. And you understand by doing research. You cannot just jump in without being aware of the market. And
so a huge research component.
Huge research component.
Okay, what approach am I going to take to this? So tell me a little bit more about the process of finding the manufacturer. Like, how is one manufacturer different than another?
So that's very interesting, and it's a great question. When you look at manufacturers, myself in particular, I looked at, well, who can create what I'm looking for, right? Okay. So that means a clean polish. Then you want to look for, they have lingo in the industry, you'll learn minimum order quantity, that's MOQ. So if a manufacturer, for instance, your bottles or your boxes, what's their MOQ? Because that's going to tell you maybe some companies have low MOQs where you could do 25 units and you could use that for your testing audience. Others have big MOQs where it's 10,000 units. If you're starting out, you don't want to deal with a manufacturer that has an MOQ of 10,000 because you're not sure if your product is even going to sell and if you have a customer. So that's key. Another thing that you look for with manufacturers is where they're located. If you have one that's domestic, you know that they can probably return their response time and when you could get your product, it's a shorter window versus someone who may be in Europe or Australia or China. It's going to take longer. If they are international, you have to think about shipping. Are you sharing a container with another company? Are you paying extra for shipping? How long that's going to take? What we saw last year in 2020 with COVID, how many companies had shortages or delays. That was because their products are not domestic and they were coming from other countries and shipping was delayed due to COVID. So
I know that was such a headache. Yeah, COVID would have a crazy impact on those companies who are shipping internationally.
And it's important to think about that when you start a company, because although you may be, let's say, small fries or, you're at ground zero today, I always think ahead and where I want to be. So I think if they can accommodate me being able to scale, and how that works with your lead times. And a lead time is how long it takes when you actually submit that order versus when you get it. Because when you start to have vendors and put your product out there, they want to know how long it's going to take when they place that order versus when they're getting that product in their, delivered to their door. So all those things are things to consider when you look at manufacturers. Lead time, their minimum order quantities, locations, their cost, if they can meet your specifications when it comes to design or the, the ingredients. All of those things are key when seeking a manufacturer.
Okay, that makes total sense. And something else that we were talking about a few weeks ago that I would love for you to touch on is the importance of owning your own formula. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Owning your formula is very important. When you think about your quantity and how you want to scale the business, right? When you first start out, it may not be as important to own your formula. But when you want to scale and grow and you're thinking about being a real market player, it's important because that's how you'll differentiate your product from competitors or others on the market. Really owning your formula, it's what protects your business and you, and also what makes you unique. I like to think of it like a copyright. Why do people have copyrights? It's to protect yourself. It's that ownership. Having a trademark, we trademarked our logo. It's the ownership. So that's very key. One thing I did when I started was I would create some things that I owned and other things I did not. So I had a mix of the two, of products that I actually owned and then formulas or shades, I should say, that I did not own, just to see what the response was. I would recommend with any product that you have, whether it's a t-shirt company, nail polish, lipstick, whatever product that you have, don't order a large volume until you have that customer and that demand. Always start with a small quantity. You put it out there. This is after you do your market research and testing, mind you. You put it out there. If you sell out, then you order more. You don't want to have a lot of inventory on your hands, especially if your product has a shelf life, because that's money down the drain that could be used on marketing or other things, more research and development even.
That makes me think about, I've been hearing a lot of just talk about the importance of pre-selling when you're a new business, and really using that as a way to gauge who's even interested in this, who wants to buy it before I go out and do all this stuff and spend all this money. Do you think that's pretty similar to what you're saying?
Yes. Pre-sale is similar. So I'm not a fan of pre-sale because I don't like the exchange of funds without having that product. That's why I'm not a fan of pre-sale. But it is very similar to what I just described. I'm a bigger fan of having a limited quantity because one, that brings up demand, and then you have that product ready to go. You can
get a limited edition color.
Yes. You could do limited edition, or even what I just do is I'll do things for a limited time only. So when we had our cuticle oils, we did gift boxes last holiday season, and we had these cuticle oils, and they were, I made them by hand. I had dried, dehydrated flowers and plants, a lot of herbs in them. And we had a big demand and great response to those. But I did that to test to see how people felt about these cuticle oils, if they liked the scent, if they liked the way that they applied. So that was me market testing a year ago for something I'm going to roll out later in mass. So that's just an example.
Yeah, it reminds me of even with restaurants, it's like they'll have some food item that's seasonal, or they'll try it in certain locations too. Sometimes they don't even test it out everywhere, but they'll have their big tester stores or whatever. And they're just like, okay, let me see. And we're just like, stop playing. Let's make this permanent. we want this thing. It tastes good, but I get it because that's just one opinion, one customer in one place. And it's like, we have to see, okay, but we have this seasonally for a month or however long they do it. It's like, I get it. You have to test it out in the market and let it have its time in that short time to see, okay, because you'll know, this is like offhand, but it's like a fragrance where they do like, winter or Christmas fragrance or whatnot. And you start to see everyone on Twitter like, are you guys really not bringing this back? Like, we want this back. We want this back. And I don't even think they're bringing it back. So it's interesting, the whole limited edition thing. Like, how do you know, no, this is never coming back? And it's just going to be that thing where if you had it and you were able to experience it, you experience it versus, okay, we'll bring it back. Like, all right.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? You actually made me think of something when you mentioned the how they'll have restaurants in certain cities and areas. One thing I would suggest, those test locations, pay attention to, if you have your business, let's say on Instagram, and you have a professional business account, you can get the analytics. Look at that. Look at the cities and the demographic, because that tells you a lot about your product and where you will thrive. When I've run ads on Instagram, we look at not just the age range or the gender, but also the cities. Certain
Mm-hmm.
shades, ironically, they're popular in certain areas of the country. Like
That's so
Cali,
cool to
it's
see.
really interesting to see that. So when I do pitches to certain stores, based on the location, that determines what shades I'll send as samples. So it's very important to know your customer in the area, um, because every culturally and geographically, we're very different in this country. But it's very interesting. It's
Yeah.
really telling. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear more about that though.
Yeah.
Like what goes into pitching to get your product in a store? What was it like doing it the first time? I just want to know everything about that. Like
That's so
what was it
interesting.
like? How do you prepare?
Yeah.
Is it very hard? And it's like four questions in a one. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. It's a great question because,
Yeah.
people need to know this, right? Yeah. So getting into stores, that process was completely foreign to me when they first reached out. The first store I got into was a local store, and they actually reached out to me on Instagram and they said, "Hey, we noticed your brand. We're having open calls right now. Come to the store on these days. We're doing interviews. You can just come, bring a line sheet, bring your products, and we'll review it." And I'm like, line sheet? What's a line sheet? I have no idea what a line sheet is. I work in finance, right? So I go to Google and I Google line sheet and I look at multiple examples on line sheets. And then I just created one, a template that was best for me. And what it essentially is you list or you have images of your products, you list the product name, description, and then you provide order details at the bottom of your line sheet. So for instance, our line sheet will have about 6 to 10 of our most popular shades, right? This was when we started out
Mm-hmm.
at least. We had 6 to 10 shades. We provided the name, the description, the SKU number. And on the bottom, we provided order information, who to contact to order, and also lead times. Again, your lead
Okay.
time, this goes back to your whole manufacturing conversation and why that's important because let's say they like my products and that demand for the quantity grows, I need to be able to fulfill them, fulfill my website, and all the other places where I'm selling as well. So that's
Okay.
why knowing the lead time with your manufacturers, if it's plural, is very important. So, anyways, I did that. I created my line sheet. I bring samples, testers with me, and I go. Now, when you pitch, you don't want to, I don't think of Shark Tank. It wasn't like a panel of mean people ripping you apart. It
Good.
was very like, warm and welcoming. These were people that they wanted to, it's a small business. They specialize in promoting small businesses. And they just really wanted to hear about the company, the brand story, and then see the products. I'm a big fan of just trying to polish. Whenever I do any public events, any trade
Mm-hmm.
shows, I'm painting nails. I can show you better than I could tell you.
Oh, so
So
is that what you did in there?
yeah, so they
I
painted
love
their own
it.
nails, but I had everything. I had at the time, I want to say probably 36 shades, and I brought all 36, not just what was on the line sheet. And I
Mm-hmm.
brought remover, and I said, paint your nails. I want you to have fun. It's quick drying, but I want you to see how quickly it dries. So they're in there, and they got all these different colors on their fingers, and they're painting their nails. They're like, I like this one. And then I said, well, that
That's
one's a top
cool.
seller. This one's big among this group. So another important thing, when you pitch, know your customer, know the demographic, and also know who you're pitching to. If this is a store that has, let's say, middle-aged women, right?
Mm-hmm.
What product for me, which shades resonate most with middle-aged women? If this is a store where we get a lot of teenagers, school tours, I know my neons, like this bright pink I have on. I know the shades that are going to resonate with that foot traffic that they're going to get there. So I'm going to show those shades and I'm going to really push those. You want to make sure that it's relevant to your audience. That's key. Otherwise, it's going to fall flat. So that's very important when you pitch. Now, there's other pitches I've done, let's say to other companies. I do research, I'll find a nail salon I like, and I'll send them an
Mm-hmm.
email. In that, again, research is key. I do research on that salon and I think of their story. For me, I don't want to be in any salon. I want to be in a salon that aligns with my brand. So when I pitch, I really just appeal. I tell them who I am and why we'd be a good connection, why we'd be a good match. It's just like dating. Why do you think
Mm-hmm.
that you guys would work out, right? So you kind of make their job easier when you lay out all the facts before you, and then you tell them after you say why you work, this is what I can offer you. If you've been featured somewhere, you add that because that helps boost up your product or brand. And if you haven't, that's okay. Your products, they'll shine alone. You talk about your service and what you're willing to do, and you make sure you deliver on those commitments. And that's how you really build a rapport and you grow your business.
That's such great advice. And so with these open calls, how common is that? Are a lot of stores doing that, or it just depends?
I would say it's pretty common because it depends on the retailer. So for instance, this particular store called Shop Made in DC, they have an open call, I want to say every quarter, maybe semi-annually, but I'd like to say every quarter, maybe they have a call for new makers where they look and they review products and they see if you would work in their stores. Walmart, everybody knows Walmart, they have an open call every year, and it's called the Walmart Open Call. And you submit your products through a website, called Range Me. And this is for CPG, which is consumer packaged goods. So this is for product-based businesses. If you have a product, you can go to rangeme.com, create a free account. And what that is it's essentially a resume, but an electronic resume, almost like LinkedIn for a product, if a product created its own LinkedIn. And you create the page, you'll have your UPCs, your SKU numbers, product descriptions. But the great thing about Range Me is a lot of stores, they are subscribed to that. So Sephora, Ulta,
That's really good.
I think Target's on Range Me as well. Sally Beauty's on Range Me. Walmart's on Range Me. HEB is on Range Me. I mean, there are so many stores on Range Me, and you could submit your product to them. So Walmart's open call, they'll announce it on their website, but you have to have an account with Range Me to submit via their open call. QVC is another one. Every year they have, I want to call it's their Big Find competition. You'll submit through Range Me as well. It's I want to say QVC. I don't know if they partner with HSN, but I know QVC for sure they do that with Range Me as well. And you can have I forgot the name of it, but you can pay for an account or you can have a free account. Get the free account. You don't have to pay.
Black Directory wants to hear from you. We're now accepting questions and topics that you would like to hear us cover on the podcast. Check out our show notes to see how you can submit a question, or feel free to slide in our DMs. Back to the episode. I just love that you're dropping so many gems. You're dropping names, links, steps. She's giving you the blueprint. So, if you have a product-based business, take some notes. Because I think a lot of times we just don't know where to start, or you can get overwhelmed. Sometimes you can do a ton of research. You have the things. So you either have things where it's kind of hard for us to get into unless people kind of give you little gems and nuggets, because I do think depending on what it is, it seems like you can only get so far on the internet, or you'll just get confused because it's too much information. So it's either information overload, or you just feel like something's missing that's not on Google. It's something that only a person can kind of tell me. Or yeah. So with you, did you find any mentors in your industry? Is mentorship a big thing in your industry? I want to learn more about how we show up as Black people in this industry in particular.
All right. So mentorship is key. When I started, I did not have a mentor in the beauty industry, but I did have a mentor that was an entrepreneur. And so I think that's important to mention because you don't let excuses hold you back. I could use the excuse of not having experience. I could use the excuse of not having anybody in the beauty industry to, lie my head on or talk to, but everything's relevant and skills are transferable, right? So I had a mentor who was an entrepreneur, and she was successful, and she's been doing it for years. So I said, well, there's a recipe because you know how to keep something going and growing. So I would just ask her for advice because I know that she's going to give me business advice. And unlike myself, emotions will not be involved. Or she's just going to give me certain perspectives to consider that I'm not considering. So mentorship is key. And my mentor, actually all of my mentors are Black women with the exception of my father. He is also my mentor. but I appreciate the perspective that you get from a Black female leader. And actually, now that I'm talking, I have to backtrack and say I did have a mentor in the beauty industry. And it was actually another woman I went to college with. And I'm going to give her a shout out because I love her to death and her lipsticks. So, Kristen Elise Brown, I love you. But Gold Label Cosmetics, that's a Black owned lipstick company. They do long wear lipsticks, mattes. It sounds biased because I know her and I'm shouting her out, but I promise you she would get the shout out if I didn't know her because I'm a fan of the products. But she actually was a mentor. And I also want to bring her up and emphasize that a mentor can be your peer. A mentor isn't always somebody that's 20 or 10 years older than you. A mentor is somebody that has experience in something that you want to get into or get experience in. She had her lipstick company for a few years before I launched Janet and Joe. She was in Essence. I saw her, she was a beauty expert on Born to Style. And so,
wow.
Yeah, Kristen was doing her thing. And just seeing her website, seeing that she had an idea that came to life.
Kristen, I'm gonna contact you after this.
Kristen's
we
super
have
dope.
to talk.
She's amazing. She's amazing. And she started doing consulting, after a while for beauty businesses and entrepreneurs. But she just gave me advice when it like Canva. I didn't know what Canva was when I got started. Planning your content. It's little things from your day to day that you don't consider even outside of your business. How do you get the ball moving with your business that you can get from peers or others? So when you consider a mentor or whatever your business is, think outside of the scope of your business. Let's say if you have a catering company or you want to do meal prep, but you're not good with social media and you have a friend that's like really good with creating content, well, there you go. That's a mentor right there for marketing. If you have a friend that does resume writing and you're not good with words and you need to think of the language for your email blast to subscribers or for your website, well, there's somebody that can mentor you on language, right? So it's little different things. We have to really utilize our resources because the people that we're blessed with, those are your resources to help you grow your business. So those were my mentors when I got started. And
did you find I guess more peers that were Black women that they create nail polishes as well? Like, what did you see with that getting into the industry?
It's so crazy because whenever you start anything, do your research. I'll drive that point home till kingdom come, right? Did my research. I only knew of one Black owned brand. 9 days before I launched my company, I find another Black owned brand in DC. And I was like, stop playing. How did this like slip under my nose? Super dope too. And the more, it's like when you buy a car, you don't see it often, but once you buy it, you get that color and model and you're like, dang, I would have got a different
everywhere.
car.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You see it because I just think you're more aware, you're more keen, and you're getting more involved in the industry. So as you're more involved in your industry, of course, you're going to see things that you hadn't seen before. So I will say that there are a lot of Black-owned nail polish brands, and I love it. It's dope because it's just like so many Black women out here pursuing their dreams. And I find that inspiring because I know that there's options for everybody. We all have different whys and we all are pursuing our whys. So I just find that inspiring. And it's like, keep going. You can do it.
Yeah, I agree. It is. And I ask because I don't know, but you hope that the answer is yes. Like, yes. Yeah. There's a few of us here and we're holding it down. And it's just amazing to see us in all spaces.
In all spaces.
Any space is great space to me. It's like, okay, like, so yeah, that's why I asked. But I want to get into something that I'm sure someone's asking, like capital. Like, did you have savings? Did you get loans? How did you access capital? Like school us real quick on just what that looked like for you.
So my journey of starting my business was personal funds, full-time job in finance. And I was just squirreling money away, using that for my research development. I mean, I launched in 2019, but this started in 2017. So this was, years of just research, work, savings. And a few months before we launched, I actually applied for a grant in DC. DC small business development community have these grants called Dream Grants, which were grants to the underserved wards in DC. I lived at the time in Southeast, which was an underfunded community. And so I applied for the grant. And with the application requirements, you have to have a business plan showing your intentions of use for the funds. You have to prove that, your business is a legitimate entity. So I had my legal structure set up. I had my tax ID number, business banking account, all those things set up, right? I applied for this because I was like, I'm not going to tell myself no. They'll tell me no, but I'm not going to tell myself no. I applied for 10,000. I got 6,000. Thank you, Jesus. It's more than what I had, right? And so if you don't know what a grant is, those are funds you do not have to pay back. Now, there may be requirements depending on who issues the grant. So the requirements for us was, you had to do monthly reports. And so you submit those just to show how the funds were used and that you're doing what you said you were going to do. So I definitely would recommend researching grants. You can research the SBA, which is the Small Business Association. That is a federal agency. They have SBAs in every main cities in every state. But no matter where you live, whether it's a big metropolitan city, if you live in a rural area, you can still apply for an SBA grant. They have grants. Let's see who else. Department of Commerce have grants. There's Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA. They have grants as well. I would look at community development organizations, look at banks, and also, in addition to banks, look at, my mind's drawing a blank. What are they called? Credit unions. A lot of these financial institutions also have, if they don't have grants available, you can probably find loans with favorable terms. It's better than going to like a big bank or big business and getting a loan from them because they'll have higher interest rates. I noticed that these community development organizations, they're really here for you. They want to grow a local economy. Exactly. So I'm really big on grants, just Googling, researching grants. If you can't get a grant, crowdfund. And that doesn't mean you can do a GoFundMe, but crowdfunding is as easy as sending a text to your support system and saying, hey, I have this business. This is my dream. This is my passion. Will you support me? Support comes in many forms. It's spreading the word. For me, it was when I was doing my product samples and testing, giving me feedback. I did surveys. I created a Survey Monkey and I asked people, what don't you like in polishes? Do you go to salons? Do you paint at home? That helped me understand my demographic. And then you know what I did with that information? Put it into my pitch. So when you pitch for funding, you got the statistics right there. When people are giving money, they need to know, well, how do you know that? Especially if your product's not already in market, meaning you're not already selling this product. How do you support what you're saying? Because you saying it doesn't make it a fact, but you got statistics.
That's true. You have to have some data. Yeah, you have to have that. And something that I was thinking about too while you were speaking is like just the importance for us to get our things in order in the sense of, say you're like, hey, I'm doing my business, but it's not incorporated. It's not kind of like a legally binding business. Right. You don't have an EIN, the list goes on. It becomes such a roadblock when you really need the help. Like I noticed you were saying with the grant, just the things they're asking, everyone's asking for the same few things plus more, but the basics that they're asking for, a lot of people, they can't even do it if they haven't taken that step to, incorporate and make sure like, okay, like I have my EIN, I have this, I have that. Even opening up a business bank account, I've done it just 2 different times now. I had one with SunTrust, and then a few years later, I went to Chase, which I love Chase.
Me too.
But you love Chase too? I love Chase.
Them. Great.
But in reality, that meeting would have been very short in the first 1 minute if I haven't taken the steps that I needed to take. So for any of you that are listening, like, oh, wow, I need a grant or a loan, whatever it is, they are going to ask what is your business name? What is it? Like, they're going to ask certain things to where you can't even take advantage of the opportunities unless you have, but I do love that you mentioned crowdfunding and just other options, but I just want to like spend some time on that a little bit of it can be worth it. It is costly because you want to make sure this is something that you want to do. This is the business that I'm passionate about. I've somewhat validated my market. And really, you can validate your market before you have a product by surveys and talking to your friends and people that you know to see, like, is this a need? Let me put a poll on Instagram and really get out there. But I see how it shows up when you really need the help.
And another thing I'd like to mention is, another roadblock for people may be that they don't have the funds to get their business license because DC is expensive. Some states aren't as expensive, but it is expensive to have a 2-year business license, close to $400. So when it comes to crowdfunding, even asking for assistance in getting your business license,
I love that.
People will take you serious when you say, I'm starting a business. I need help getting a license.
Yeah.
Even if, they're not comfortable with maybe giving you the money up front, ask for just a 0 interest loan. You could even lead with that. Like, could I get a 0 interest loan for $200? Ask 2 people that you have your $400 for your license or however much it costs for your state. But
I love that.
I will continuously say, do your research because it's very frustrating from somebody that is the lender when you have somebody that comes to you with an ask, but they don't know what's really required of that ask. So when you do your research and let's say if you were going to Chase to open a business account, I need my EIN. I need all these things, right? Knowing that shows people how serious you are.
I researched everything before I left the house. I'm one of those people, I hate having to go back home. It just, for one, I was living in Oakland at the time. So I was taking the train. I didn't have a car. So I was like, I'm not going home. Like,
it's got to be one.
I'm trying to go here one time.
Yeah.
I bring more than what I need. I'm like, okay, what do you need? The articles of organization. Like, what do you need? I'm coming with it. And every time, the few times that I've had to do this process, they're like, wow, you have everything. And I'm like, I know. Yeah, I did not want to take that trip. So, but in general, it's good to do that research anyways, because you don't even have to go through that if you already know, like, just what they'll be asking for, what they're looking for. And it just, I don't know, you just never know what people can do for you too. Like when you're confident and you're like, no, this is the research that I've did. And I feel like based on this, my market will be that. And just talking to bank, the people that work at the bank, it's like, you just never know what they can do on their end because you don't know what pull people have sometimes.
You
like,
don't.
You're just talking.
Yeah.
But you would be surprised. They're just like, especially with us being Black, let's just say what it is. They're very impressed when we're like on it.
The bar is so low. It's like,
the bar is so low.
Sometimes. I'm just like, really?
They're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But it's like, I just need you all to open my account. Let's just, I know what I'm here for. But you just never know what having relationships at the bank or anywhere, like what it can do. And I noticed that, especially with like smaller towns or just your bank that may be down the street. When they keep seeing you, you just never know.
You never know. And one thing you mentioned actually that I do want to bring back up is, and it's related to this funding conversation, is Black Girl Ventures changed my life.
I heard of Black Girl Ventures. Tell us more about that.
Definitely if anybody, even men, because actually now there's a Black Men Ventures. If you aren't aware or if you are aware, familiarize yourself because it's amazing. It's founded and led by Shelly Bell, who is dope. She grows Black businesses. She is committed to your growth. And so what it is they do a crowdfunding style pitch competition. And they go in various cities across the US. And last year it was virtual because of COVID. But with a crowdfunding style pitch competition, the way that's set up is you do a pitch, normal Shark Tank style product pitch, but instead of it having 4 judges where they decide if they'll fund your business, the crowd decides to fund your business. So your audience is actually the ones who are going to fund you, whatever your ask may be. And they do that by voting for you, but you vote in dollars. So let's say if we pitch today, and we're voting, it's like, I'm going to send you $20. And it's like that. The crowd is voting for you. I participated last October. Actually, excuse me, that was last September. Yeah, it was September I participated. And it's funny because that was my first pitch, like real pitch. I've been doing them via email, but I've never done a pitch competition. And because of COVID, it was via Zoom, where I log in to their platform that they have, and it was about 5 judges there, and you're pitching your product or service or whatever your company and business is. But it was so nerve-wracking because I've never done that. And I've held this close to my heart. This is my baby. Okay. I love Janet and Joe. I love polish. So when you're opening up to pitch, of course, they're going to ask you questions. It's like, oh, that's cute. You love your business, but why should I love your business?
Yeah.
So I was super nervous, but I have to stress the importance of how amazing this organization is, because leading up to the pitch, you have your weekly pitch practices, and you have alumni and also your fellow participants and Shelly, and they look at your pitch, and it's a timed pitch. I want to say it was 3 minutes, which you're like, oh, that's good. No, 3 minutes is like 3 seconds where you have to tell the who, the what, the when, the where, the why you should care, why I care, why your audience will care. It's a lot. And they really helped me refine my pitch. They helped me create an appealing one that was visually appealing, but also flowed and told a story. And even afterwards, we received mentorship from Shelly.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. I had an hour legal consultation, free legal consultation. I had an hour of accounting services where we looked at my books, and they helped me, just clean things up. And you also build a community of fellow entrepreneurs, in different industries. And we just share information with each other every day. We have a WhatsApp chat, and we're just, hey, ladies, here's an opportunity. Apply for this, apply for that. Here's a tip.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And I'll say I thank Shelly because she checks in. She's available. If I'm applying for something, I know I put her down for a reference even, and I text her. I say, hey, Shelly, I put you down as a reference. Shelly's amazing. Shelly is amazing. And because of Black Girl Ventures, you never know who's listening, right? I did a pitch last year. I had an anonymous donation of $100,000 into my company from that pitch. So,
you're saying, okay, so you pitch in front of the judges, and is it recorded to where it's shared out to the participants, and then they'll vote with the money? Is that how it
exactly
goes?
What happens?
Okay. So it's like it gets through them, but it still is going to be shown to. Okay, that's you don't know who's listening.
You don't know who's listening, because I was sitting there nervous, to do this pitch, and if I never did that, I would have never got that infusion of capital. And it's money that I don't have to pay back. I'm not paying interest. I'm not paying nothing back. I'm just paying my service and gratitude. And now they have a Black Men Ventures that they just opened. I forgot how many chapters they have, but you got to do it.
Yeah. And even for myself, like, you're growing and you're learning, and it's always a list of fears that you have, right? Of things of like, if I could just get to where I'm going without having to do this type of thing because of your own fear. Maybe it's like public speaking or rejection, right? And it's just crazy how by you stepping outside of your comfort zone and just like, for one, Shelly, they really gave you guys so many resources, which is amazing. It wasn't like you were on your own and figure it out and good luck. That made all the difference, because it's like, okay, we have these weekly practices. I'm refining what I'm going to say. You have that reinforcement and that team, but it's like you could still just psych yourself out and say, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm not doing it. But you would have missed out on, like, that's just crazy to me. Yeah. That gives me chills. I'm like, what?
I was boohoo crying when I found out. I was like, who? Yeah. What? My company?
What did I say? You miss all the shots that you don't take, or
you miss all the shots you don't take.
It's like you don't know what's behind that door.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy. There are no losses because.
But that's a mindset thing. You have to train your mind of there is no losses.
Yeah. And it's funny, I have a folder in my phone, I call it motivation. It's a screenshot of every rejection email I get from stores or applications. And there's more rejection emails than there are congrats emails, but It doesn't matter because that one congrats beats out all those rejections. So I just use it to keep me going. And a piece of advice I would give is when you do get a rejection email, let's say if it's a grant or a store, a potential partner, whatever it may be, reach out to them and ask them for some concrete feedback on what you could incorporate. So you know that in the future with them and others, because it just, it increases your chances of getting a yes.
Yeah. And I know we have to wrap up soon, but speaking of keeping it going, what keeps you going?
Passion. I love this stuff. Like people always say, what would you do if you could, if money wasn't an object, right?
Yeah.
And this was it, ironically, but I didn't know that at the time. So for me, my passion for polish keeps me going. And it really is, I'm really into knowledge sharing and just growing the community. And it's it's funny because I try to find you like little different ways to share knowledge, whether it's like the little stories I put behind the polish names. If you pay attention, there's little things I drop in there, little hints. But that's my passion. Yeah.
I love that. I think you have to be passionate about it. You have to have something that keeps you going. And that's why for me personally, I'm very into, it's always such a conversation with purpose and your why. And for some people, money is it, like, okay, that's what keeps them going. Yeah. But whatever it is, it has to be strong enough to hold you in it, because there's going to be ups and downs regardless, but you have to, as long as you can let that fuel you and you can pull from somewhere, you're good.
You're good.
But if you can't pull from it, you're just like, I don't know about this.
You're doing it just to do it. Listen,
it's
going to get you. It's going to get you. Trust me.
You're going to be like, why am I doing this again? You have to have something in you that's like, that's why I do this. And of course, if you have more than one reason, great, but if it's one, it has to be strong to where it's something that you either like, you naturally are drawn to it. It's a skill and you get like that gratification, that fulfillment when people are happy with it. Like you have to figure out what that is.
That's my thing there. It's like what fills you up. And, for me, it wasn't my dream was just to have a nail polish company. I just thought it'd be something I'd sell between me and my friends. Never thought I'd be in a store shop. And I mean,
that's so crazy, that, actually.
It would happen.
And that's why sometimes you don't know how things are going to play out, because some people call that like, oh, you're thinking small. Like, you just had your, like, I'm just doing this to fill this kind of need. Like, okay, I want to do this. And me and my friends are going to have some bomb polishes. And it's just crazy how.
And then I was like I want to be in a store, but I was just talking trash. The crazy thing is, you say things, and Lord forgive me for it, I didn't believe it would happen. And he was like, okay, I got you, because you're going to have your work cut out.
Like looking at what you're speaking and manifesting, and sometimes it's intentional or not intentional. And it's just like, okay, here we are. And that's so cool. And I just want to say thank you so much for just spending this time with me. I know everyone's going to love this. I feel like I learned so much. I have so many links now. Like, okay, she said this, let me research that. And it's just so cool. I love how open you are with information. I think you were saying it anyways, but knowledge sharing. And I feel like we're already shut out enough from information. So it's always cool. It's like, hey, I know this thing. Maybe someone else can benefit. This is how I used it. These are the roadblocks I kind of ran into doing it. And here you are. We can't make people use the information, but it's like, hey,
it's here.
Here it goes. So I just thank you for just your openness and your transparency and just sharing as much as you wanted to share. Like, okay, like I'm just so happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's our duty, is when you go through something, make it so the next person doesn't have to, and some people don't like sharing information. I guess, they hold it tight, but what's yours is yours. And I know my calling and my purpose. So I can tell you exactly what I did, but you're going to do something different. So
Yeah. And you trust that. And it's just, it's really cool. But before we go, I wanted you to share with everyone, what's next for you. We have about 5 months left in the year, but what's up for you this year and just what's coming up and how can we support you?
Yes. So let's see, I decided to finally release the gel lacquers that we have. I've been holding them tight, doing a lot of testing, and I was sharing them only with our salon partners, but now I'm releasing them to our customers through our website. So in August, the second half of August, you'll see some gel nail lacquers on our website. These are limited edition though. And this collection is an ode to 90s R&B. So you'll recognize some of the titles through the names.
Ooh, when is this?
This will be live in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 weeks. Be on the lookout on janetandjoe.com. Also on our Instagram, Janet and Joe, you'll see posts about gel nail lacquers. So we have one, it's like pretty brown eyes. You can imagine what color that is. Yeah. So, I'm really excited about those.
Yeah. I love the creativity and I just can't wait to support and let people know where they can find you. I want people to definitely, and I'll drop, whatever she says, I'll drop in the show notes so everyone will be able to find your information as well.
Please follow us on Instagram. We're also on Twitter, but we're more active on Instagram. It's at Janet, ANDJO. You'll know us. You'll see the pineapple. That's Janet and Joe. And you can also shop online at janetandjoe.com.
Awesome. And she's in the Black directory as well, Janet and Joe. So
please support.
Yeah. You'll be able to find her there as well. And we'll have all her links attached there as well. So I'm super excited to see this new line that you have coming out and just to, continue supporting you. And this has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for spending some time with us. Enjoying the show? Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating and review. Interested in connecting with Black-owned businesses and joining the family? We got you covered. Download Black Directory in both the iOS and Android app stores. Until next time.